Congressman Issa, stay there. Our next two guests are real players responsible for helping to get Donald Trump elected. They're the authors of the new book, Trump's Enemies. Trump's former campaign manager, former director, deputy campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie are both here. Hi, guys.
Hi, Judge.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Hello. How are you?
Long time no see.
All right. So, listen, guys, you got a great new book out, and I'm not going to talk about it right now.
Thanks, Judge.
What I want to talk about...
Where is it on the bestsellers list?
It's on the New York Times bestseller list, so we're very happy.
Congratulations.
It may be fake news, but it's our fake news.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? Now I feel like I'm part of your club. But listen, you know, what the congressman and I didn't have time to talk about, I want to talk to you guys about is the economy. We saw the GDP in 2018 hit record highs, but then it started to falter a little bit at the end of the year. You know, unemployment has stayed pretty good at 3.7%, but there was some volatility in the stock market that we saw, you know, in mid-December. What's going on, and what can the president do to make sure that he can continue to deliver on the message that apparently the House couldn't deliver on? Corey.
Well, I think part of it is, as you know, this president has focused American trade policy on renegotiating bad trade deals. When you look at what he's done between Canada and Mexico and the United States, getting rid of NAFTA and renegotiating that, that's a positive. But you also have to think about what he did with President Xi of China. Said, we're going to put a temporary stay on putting more tariffs on you.
Right.
And that was supposed to bring the market to these amazing numbers. And for a period, the market was up over a 3-day period, the highest it's been in 6 years. So the market responded, but it's very fickle. And now what we're seeing, Judge, over the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks is every time the market goes down, whether it's 10 points or 50 points, they're now blaming the president. Unlike for all those times where it set record highs under his administration.
It was never the president who did it. It was Barack Obama.
It was Barack Obama who built this, right?
You know, maybe I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Did Barack Obama build it?
No, Barack Obama destroyed our economy. This president's taken the last 2 years to build it up, whether it's bringing manufacturing jobs back, whether it is the energy sector, whether it is renegotiating these bad trade deals. I think there's a lot of uncertainty out there in the markets. And I'm not an economist, but I'm a political guy. And I look at the investigations that are about to beset this president and this White House. You are going to see a White House that is going to be under siege by the Democrat-controlled House here very shortly. And you're going to see a White House that is naturally going to constrict in its ability to get a legislative agenda through, as well as other priorities on the economy.
Let me
ask
you this, Congressman. I mean, you know, the House couldn't do what it might have done. We lost seats.
It didn't do.
Why?
Well, because the House is known for passing things and then letting the Senate fail to do it. This time there were a lot of things we didn't pass. We didn't even send them to the Senate that the president wanted.
The economy's so good. Why didn't Republicans win and keep the House?
You know, the economy is an interesting and fickle thing. In a good economy, a lot of Republicans don't get real excited and turn out. Democrats, looking at Donald Trump and despising him, did turn out. But, you know, one of the things about the economy, some people score the economy based on, 3.7% unemployment and so on. How about we score it like it was the real battle that it is between us and the Chinese? Last quarter, Chinese, 1.3% growth. Less than 2 months ago, I was at the World Economic Forum in China. Company after company told me about their leaving China. They're building their new factory in Vietnam or South Korea.
Oh, boy.
The fact
Not
is,
here. I was hoping you would say the U.S.
Well, no, a lot are being built in the U.S., and we see those every day, but we don't see what's moving out of China just to move out of China. What China is dealing with is we're in this so-called war. And we're winning it. Yes, we're growing at X rate, but China has decelerated from its typical over 10% to 1.3%. They are in a free fall.
All right. What I'm going to do right now is I know we have a question from our audience, and I believe, sir, Ernie, I'll just call you Ernie. You're Ernie, right? All right, Ernie. Ernie's question is, what does the situation with China mean for the economy, and could things get worse?
Well, I think I just gave you a part of that. China is in a free fall. China still has more than 500 million people they're trying to get modern 21st century jobs for, and they don't have a way to get it, and the rest of the world is starting to eat their lunch, and they have an inflation problem, and quite frankly, they've gone back to being a communist dictatorship. So that's where China is. What does it mean for us? It means that we're going to have a more diverse group of vendors for the United States. Our partnership with Canada, our partnership with Mexico, renegotiated under this president, is going to grow.
All right, and I think you had an additional question.
Yes, and the additional question, and what will that do? What will that effect be on our elections coming up in 2020?
Well, look, as it relates to China, you have to think they're now agreeing to open their markets to our agriculture products because of the sit-down conversation that President Trump had with President Xi. They have blocked us from putting our exports there for a long time because they didn't want to compete against the United States. But that renegotiation is everything is witnessed at the ballot box. When people are doing well, they have to ask themselves a very simple question, which was asked under the Clinton administration and the Obama administration for a re-election effort. Am I better off today than I was 2 or 4 years ago? When you look at economic security, you look at homeland security, and you look at national security, every economic indicator of those issues says, yes, we are stronger today under the Trump administration than we were 2 years ago,
right,
which bodes very well for a re-election campaign.
And Judge, if I could, just
ahead,
one more thing is, in that conversation with President Xi, President Trump asked the Chinese president to take a stand on the opioid issue.
Yes.
And that is that potentially 2 years from now, not today, but 2 years from now, is going to be able to rein in this, help us rein this tragedy in that is going on in this country. And I think that the American people hopefully will see the fruits of that labor as well.
All right. And now I believe we have another question from the audience.
Yes. Recently, I've seen a lot of headlines that the economy is just dropping, the stock market's crashing. It's been very worrying to me, and I'm wondering, could we be headed for another recession?
Look, I'm not an economist, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I'm just going to give you my ideas. But the truth is, I don't think so, because every economic indicator is showing that we're still expanding. Our economy is growing. It's not receding. We have to be very cautious of the Federal Reserve continuing to raise interest rates. It's something the president's been very candid about. He's been very vocal about it. We have to understand people are finally having more money in their pockets for the first time in literally a decade. Under the Bush and then the Obama economy, people didn't have job opportunities, and not just the new jobs, but what you're seeing in our economy right now is people who have jobs have opportunities to move to other places that didn't exist because the deregulation that this president has impacted in our environment, which means more economic opportunities for everybody.
Go ahead,
and
Tim.
I'd love to find a way to get the millennials to get into the housing market, right? That's one of the soft spots that we see in the economy coming up in the next several quarters, is that we see with the interest rates going up, the millennials have to understand and want to participate in that American dream
Right.
that
We're going to
we
talk
have
about
for 200
that,
years has always been a bedrock of our economy.
Yeah.